Hi, I'm Joy,
Hi, I'm Lorraine.
and this is Girlish Gurus. And Lorraine, why are we here?
We're here to talk about mid-lifestyle topics for women who are 45 and older to help you live your best, healthiest, and most fulfilled life. We're also going to have lots of fun along the way.
So let's get started. Welcome back to another episode of Girlish Gurus. I'm Joy.
And I'm Lorraine.
Lorraine, what are we talking about today?
Today we have a special guest, Denise K. Evans, and she's
Yay,
the author
welcome.
of Zen In High Heels. So I would like to read her bio first before we get started. If enlightenment seems unattainable in the reality of your already complicated, jam-packed life, Zen in High Heels will ignite in you the confidence to get started today. Any gnawing of discontent is your truth knocking on the door of your consciousness, looking to be expressed. Zen in High Heels dispels the assertion that commitment to higher consciousness and spirituality requires one to leave behind material or what we consider pleasurable aspects of today's lifestyle. Evolved and fabulous are not mutually exclusive. Denise K. Evans presents ancient wisdom blended with current self-help ideations in a way that feels accessible in the 21st century. She lays out the principles in such a way for you to create a bridge between where your life is today and where you want it to be. She inspires us to get out of survival mode and find our way to a more satisfying life. Evans had all the trappings of the American dream: the education, financial success, material abundance, but remained unfulfilled. She knew there had to be more to life. She went from longing for inner peace to finding it, and has a passion to share how she finally got the barrage of spiritual and personal growth information to make sense and stick in her own life. Denise reminds us always to come back to ourselves for the answers that we seek. Her book, Zen in High Heels, serves as a practical guide no matter where you are on your spiritual journey to keep seeking and finding growth and inner peace. In addition to her MBA, Denise is a mom, a writer, a speaker who has a love for travel and fitness. Follow her on Instagram at Zen in High Heels. Welcome, Denise.
Welcome,
Hi.
welcome.
Hi, ladies.
Hello.
Hi. To get started, well, first of all, look at this book.
Oh, yeah.
I've got all my tabs.
Very
So Joy
cool.
and I had the pleasure of reading your book, and we've
Thank
taken
you.
some notes. And just before we hopped on, we actually did a little bit of discussing what each of us would like to ask you and share. And I think just to get started, what is it that actually led you on this path to write this book?
I consider myself probably always a seeker. All my life, I can remember asking myself the bigger questions. I always went to church, that kind of thing. So I've always had like a spiritual curiosity. And then as I got older and got the college degree and did the things I was supposed to do and had the material success, I still had my spiritual, I would read those kind of books or go to church. But I was thinking I was on a path to external success and fulfillment. And then as I accumulated more and more, I realized these things aren't giving me the lasting satisfaction that I want. And I consider myself a good person, but why was I having trouble, no matter how much I love you or whatever, with a relationship? I found some of them to be really complicated and difficult. And I was thinking, I know my intentions are pure, so why are some relationships so hard? Why can't we just all get along? Or what do I need to achieve next? As this type A driven individual, is it going to be just around the next achievement that I'm going to feel that satisfaction that I'm doing enough, that I am enough, that my life matters? And so I realized I need to go maybe a different path. And I just upped the ways I was trying to get information. I started reading more books, listening to more podcasts, or this was even before podcasts, listening to the audio recordings. I was just seeking and searching, why can't I figure out how to make personal fulfillment and inner peace work for me? And it would be fleeting. I would read the Deepak Chopra or the Eckhart Tolle, and I would think, okay, this makes sense. This is what I want. This is resonating as true. And I would feel pretty good. And then I would go out in the world and then bam, I couldn't find the peace. Where's the peace? I feel frustrated. I feel sad. So it took me a long, 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 long time, decades of trying to incorporate having a pure heart and a real intention of figuring out, what am I missing? What's the missing link? And I just kept on searching and seeking. And then as life threw difficult things in, I would say, okay, now's my chance to keep digging and searching and seeking and trying to get these answers. So I was always wanting someone to explain to me the spiritual ideations that were resonating as true in a way that would make sense for me, in a way that I could put down the book, take the phone call with my mother-in-law or whoever, and be the person that I wanted to be, have the connections that I wanted to have, feel the love I wanted to feel, express the love I wanted to express. I wanted to be all those things and live that way, not just read about it. I wanted to live it. So once I finally got things to start clicking, and I would say, oh, that's how that works. Oh, that's how to apply this principle in 2024. Oh, I was wishing, why didn't someone just say it in a way that I could understand it? So that's what Zen in High Heels is. To me, it is ancient principles, proven personal and spiritual growth principles that work, presented in a way, I hope, that you can put down the chapter and start incorporating the principle immediately in your life and feel the difference, reap the reward, and grow into a more evolved version of yourself.
Good
That
answer.
is awesome. I know, Joy, and this just reminds me of the conversation we had just before coming on. You had a question you wanted to ask, and I think Denise kind of just answered in there about spirituality.
Well, I think you touched on it initially. It is difficult to reconcile spiritual seeking or spirituality in this modern world. So if you could discuss that a little bit, that would be fantastic.
So that is exactly the point of Zen in High Heels, and thus the title, Zen in High Heels. I was wondering, as I had achieved some success or done some things in my life and gotten toward midlife, I was wondering, if I really pursue this inner peace thing, am I going to have to give up certain people, certain things, my lip gloss, my makeup? Do I have to not get my hair done? Like, do I have to go to a mountaintop somewhere for a year? I don't know. So I was really curious, can I be who I am and enjoy the things that I enjoy and the people that are in my life in 2024 and continue to try to be a better version of myself? Can I continue to try to deepen my relationship with the divine and my relationship with myself, which is ultimately what I found that's intertwined, is your relationship with the divine and with yourself. So that's really what Zen in High Heels seeks to answer, is that question, which is perfect, of how do you get started? And the nice thing is, you can start wherever you are. If you were like me and you've been reading these kind of books and enjoying these kind of podcasts and learning a little bit along the way and are interested in it, or if maybe you've never been interested in it and you're realizing as life is changing and evolving and you're losing people and goals are coming and going, that you're like, I really want to make sure that I'm living my life and feeling that it has significance, and feeling like maybe I'm on the right path, or making sure the people around me understand how much I love them. Am I expressing it in a healthy way? So it answers all these kind of things, and it goes from wherever you are, and you can go as slow as you want, or I don't know if you can go as fast as you want. Usually there's a
Oh, no,
pace
I don't think you
universe has
can.
for us.
Just like you said earlier, it took you decades. I think it is an ongoing process, and it takes a long time to undo some of the conditioning we are raised with, which I think is a direct obstacle. Like you said early on in the book, you are your own Zenemy, huh? That's pretty funny.
Can be. I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
Enemy
Feel
can
free to
be your
use
own.
it. Yes.
But in terms of like spirituality, and sometimes it can get twisted with your religious beliefs, and I have my lifelong faith or something, so I don't know if I should read this book. Is it going to contradict my faith, and it doesn't at all. This is to say that you can be a good person, you can go to church, you can have your faith, you can have a relationship with God, you can go to church multiple times a week and still leave the service and get in an argument with your neighbor.
That's
And
exactly right.
still,
Yes.
and still find yourself binge eating late at night to comfort your soul because something's missing. So it's to say you can have those spiritual beliefs and practices, but not understand the spiritual part of how to pull that into your actual real day-to-day life. And that's what Zen in High Heels seeks to bridge that gap.
Practically speaking, enjoying material things doesn't conflict with that. In my opinion, I think that's true.
As long as you don't think that that is somehow definitive, the material abundance, the brand of shoes you wear, or purse you carry, or car you drive, as long as you are honest and aware that that doesn't impact your value as a person, that doesn't make you more valuable to have those things.
Or anyone else's.
Exactly.
Right.
It's a universal principle of I can have these things and enjoy them, but also it doesn't define me. And I'm going to work on the qualities that define me. I'm going to work on the self-confidence, and I'm going to work on the non-attachment and the unhealthy ways to people and things. And I'm going to work on ways to express my love more, and so forth and so on.
Right.
This is what I like. So as I was going through the book, I wanted to pick out a few paragraphs that I thought that we could discuss. And this one is from your introduction. And I think this might be where people might find a connection and realize what is happening in their own life. Like, what are they seeking? So you wrote, I grew weary of constantly wondering what's next. When would I feel satisfaction that it's enough, that I'm doing enough, that I am enough? I wanted to feel a fullness and contentment about my life and within myself, not fullness and contentment when this happens or that goes my way, but in the moment that is happening now. And why did this seem somehow elusive? Did I need to accomplish the next goal and hope that peace would find me then? Was peace waiting for me just around the corner? Or was I doing something wrong? I had an awareness that I wanted something more, but was not quite sure what that meant and absolutely no idea how to get there.
That's a good one. That's good.
So then I guess then this whole journey of writing this book, of all of the experiences that you had, and I don't know if you want to share any of those because you had some pretty intense life experiences between the death of your father, your divorce. And I know that so many women out there, especially in this phase of life, are going through those changes also, either becoming empty nesters, divorced, widowed, health conditions. So, do you want to talk a little bit about how your journey has affected the trauma that you've experienced in your life?
What I do want to say is that all those things you mentioned that anyone is going through, that this work is universal to all of your things that you go through. And if you can learn the basic principles of how to be present, of how to take care of your body so that you can show up to these stressful things a more full version, not an exhausted, tired, grumpy version of yourself. If you can take personal responsibility for the tough times of your life and figure out where you may have contributed to the situation or where you may have not listened to your intuition and ignored red flags along the way. These can apply for, bankruptcy situations or divorce situations or deaths or difficult family relationships, your kids going away to college. All these things are enhanced by you understanding who you are, how you want to show up, having clear intention, and then moving and navigating your way through these and actually learning and being better on the other side of them.
And that was the chapter that Joy alluded to earlier, right? What's your number one enemy, right?
Number one
Number one enemy is
you.
yourself.
Right.
And taking responsibility for any acts that you may have contributed to the outcome of what's happening in your life.
Easier said than done.
Especially in relationships. That's such a difficult one at first because there are times when people do us wrong or someone did do something that caused the breakup, for example. And so it's easy to say, oh, well, they did that. It wasn't me. It wasn't my fault. And now I'm just going to go find someone else. Or they did that. They were wrong and I'm the victim. And it's much broader spiritual concept to say, how did I present myself in a way that I even attracted a person like that to begin with? What about me made them attracted to me? That's a question I want to know so that I don't attract the same kind of person next time. And no one has that answer for you. You have to be willing to ask yourself these deep, difficult questions and then be patient and listen for the answer. And the answer will always come. So it's, what did I miss? Like I said a few minutes ago, what did my intuition try to tell me here and there that I was like, oh, no, this is okay. It's okay. And I overrode something nagging within me. I can't do that next time. So you can look for the ways that you may have contributed in that way. Not that you did something wrong to cause the breakup, but you were a participant in the relationship. And what can we learn from that? Who did that person remind you of when you were a child? Oh, they did this, which makes me feel invisible. What way did I feel invisible as a child? So you start connecting the dots for yourself, asking the hard questions, and that's where we learn and we grow. And then we can carry a better version of us into the next relationship.
I really do think they should teach these principles to children in school because what you're talking about is introspection, and that is a difficult thing to master.
And the ego, which is the part that you're talking about, that reptilian protect us, does not want you to seek the evolution that these questions would bring. So there's a part of us feels natural to just point the finger. And the questions that I posed or the chapters of this book ask you to look at your life in a different, in a real, in an honest way that's actually going to produce results. That's what I love so much about this. And as you go and as you build on the principles for yourself, and as you start to see it make a difference, it becomes widespread in your life. You don't have to, with each person, go back to the beginning of the process and work your way through it. Once you really understand my role or the way I show up or my tender spot in my heart and how that shows up in the relationships I have. And now I understand, oh, that's my tender spot of my heart. And my tender spot is different than your tender spot. Someone's may be the fear of abandonment, or someone's may be that I'm not worthy of your time. And that's okay. I'm going to accept that. I'm going to accept relationships where I overgive and I don't expect reciprocation. So there's all these different things. But yeah, it is the ego that's trying to keep you safe, but it is in expanding and being willing, even if you don't understand it, even if you want to say, I don't think I contributed to it. Just the notion that maybe there's a tiny little space of something that I haven't considered before. If you're just willing to open the box a little bit, you'll see some answers and that'll make you more curious because truth is light. So as you start letting in the light, it feels better. You start seeing things better, seeing things differently. And then you start showing up differently. And this is where the magic is, when you can actually show up in your own life in the way that you want to. If you're quick tempered, or we mentioned like overeating, or whatever is sort of the negative feeling you have or the bad habit that you have, if you start getting honest with the deeper, truer part of you and bring her forward and start understanding how to nurture that deep relationship, and you're really clear and honest with you, you find that all those things dissipate. You're just naturally more patient. You just naturally want to make better decisions for your health. It's a byproduct of self-love.
I love that.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I love that. And of
Thank
course,
you.
as a health coach,
Right.
I'm all about, and actually I want to pivot a little bit here. In chapter 2, The Need for Zen, you talk about how Americans are one of the most affluent and materially abundant people on earth. And yet recently there's been studies that show that we consume something like 74% of all prescription medication, antidepressants, anti-anxiety, blood pressure, sleeping medication, and the list goes on. We're sick, we're worried, stressed, exhausted from not tending to our spirit,
Mm.
but instead chasing the shiny ball. So I know you've addressed all of that as far as what we're seeking spiritually. Do you want to talk a little bit about how we have to, I guess, treat our bodies as temples and
Yes.
and how important our health is, not just spiritually, but for our mental health, for our physical health, for our longevity?
Well, I think somewhere in the Bible it talks about your body being the vessel
Mhm.
that you operate through life in. So it's important because it's an integral part of our experience on earth. Like we're with our bodies every day, all day. And those symptoms of, not always, but the generalized symptoms of anxiety or depression or even high cholesterol or all these things, there's a lot of science that our brain chemistry and our emotions contribute to all of these physical ailments. There's, books, The Body Keeps the Score. Carolyn Miss, I can't think of the name of her work, but she has a whole book on the way different emotions affect different parts of the body. Over time, the neglect of whatever the thing is that you're neglecting will show up as a physical symptom. And I do some energy work as well. And I'm trained in understanding that physical symptoms are just our body's way of getting our attention that something is off, something is out of balance in the way that we're living in our life, in the way that we're showing up, in the way that we're trying to stuff back anger or disappointment or certain emotions that we're not allowing ourselves to
Right.
express. Or, like, spiritually speaking, we have the shadow side, the part of us that we might not want to look at, or we may carry shame from trauma or things that have happened in the past or decisions that we've made in the past. And all those emotions stay with us alive inside of us until we're ready to look at them, maybe get some therapy, get some help, and heal them. And sometimes physical symptoms can heal based on psychological, spiritual work.
That whole mind body connection. Totally, I'm totally there for that.
Yeah.
It has
Well,
happened to me.
yeah, me too. I'd love to hear your story.
Yeah.
But I used to have a lot of back pain. And even in my 20s, I had back pain. And I've just noticed as I continued to grow and heal some of the things in me that needed healing and live more authentically, I have, I would say, 80% less back pain, just for no other reason than the fact that my body's not harboring the things that it was harboring.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I love, and I had just mentioned Dr. Sarno, who wrote the mind-body connection, and I followed his work for a while. And I really felt I ended up in an ambulance on the way to the hospital. I could not move. Found Dr. Sarno, and I have not had a problem since. I still have, lower body aches or whatever, but nothing like that. I literally could not move.
And Dr. Sarno, meaning not a surgeon or not a, he didn't heal you by surgery or some
No,
technique.
no, no.
But you said you found him and now you don't have the pain. I just want to be
Yeah,
clear for the audience that he did not
no.
intervene
I never, he
surgically.
actually passed away
That's
before I found, literally the week that I found him, he passed away. And a movie came out about him. But yeah, just reading his books basically cured me because I realized what I had been harboring and I addressed that. And just as you're
That's
saying,
beautiful.
and the back pain went away.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love hearing that. That's beautiful.
Yeah. So moving on in the book, I picked several other paragraphs that I thought we could talk about. And this was also in the chapter, The Need for Zen. And this kind of goes with what we were just talking about. So you wrote, allowing ourselves to use distraction as our default mode of existence is a barrier to evolution. Busyness is the perfect decoy. It serves its purpose, really, tricking us into believing we are doing things that eventually will lead to something meaningful. Staying busy is the socially acceptable norm. Hell, it's socially revered. Oh my God, I'm so busy. I know people wear it like a badge of honor.
Yes.
Busy with this thing, that thing, the next thing, and really no thing. That is to say, nothing that really matters. So I love that because it's
Thank
so
you.
true. People really do. Oh, I'm not getting any sleep. I'm up till all hours and I'm just so busy.
Mhm.
And it's
And
killing
it gets
us.
to the point where can't slow down or hold still, because then you're going to have to deal with the private thoughts.
Right.
Ooh, and there it is. That is
Yeah.
a really powerful thing. If you can recognize that and implement that, that's a big one.
Yes. And that's one of the reasons people think they try meditation and it's not for them, because in slowing down, their mind sort of goes crazy. And it's just a slow process of eliminating some of the noise. Even if it's just while you're putting your makeup on, you don't have the news on in the background, or you find little tiny moments. If you don't want to do a formal meditation practice yet, and you're just starting out and you recognize the overstimulation of your schedule, just take little opportunities when the commute to the school to pick the kids up. Make sure you don't put on the podcast yet. Just have 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, where there's literally no outside noise, and just kind of get used to that. And then eventually you'll start to crave that. And then eventually the things that need attention will start to come up for you.
So,
Yeah.
Denise, why don't you tell us a little bit about some of the principles in your book?
Okay, I'll tell you some of the principles, and I just want to emphasize that spiritual and personal growth is not like some all-encompassing major life decision. Oh my gosh, I really need to change everything. I need to clear my social calendar. I need to like do all these things differently. The whole point that I hope people can take away from the book is that it's available every single day of our lives. There are little small opportunities, like we were talking about a minute ago, about taking the pause and responding instead of reacting. Even if you don't get it right every time, if you can do that 2 times tomorrow and you didn't do it 2 times today, that's improvement. And we have to realize it's not about perfection or achieving some mastery as much as it is just evolving and progressing. And if we can make just a little bit better decisions today, if we can not have the third glass of wine on the work night, if we can not pick up the phone to gossip about the neighbors, whatever happened at the neighbor's house, if we can just pause and start thinking about and paying attention to the way that we operate and make just small, better choices that are in line with who we want to be, then we can build on that and build on that and grow and grow and grow. So I just want to make sure, I think a lot of times people put this work on the back burner. You're going to get to it when the kids are gone. You're going to get to it when the kids are back in school for the school year. You're going to get to it after the holidays. Oh my God, the holidays are the perfect time to practice. So I just don't want anyone to feel like, oh, I got to wait until I have enough time to deal with all these deep principles. Some things are deep. Some things are going to take a while to untangle from and learn from and really evolve to. But every single day on the planet, we have opportunities to grow and be different, to turn off the television 15 minutes earlier, to not hit the snooze button, all the things that are going to make us be more the person we want to be and start showing up as the person we want to show up as. And they're small, they're tiny, they're doable. And that's sort of a big message I want to get across.
Yeah,
That's
I
a good
love
one.
that. So, do you want to share some of those principles with us?
Sure. We talk about gratitude. We talk about meditation as a principle. We talk about personal responsibility that we touched on in relationships and in life, non attachment, and about not feeling like other people and circumstances need to be this way and then I'll be happy. If this person will do this differently, then I can have a better relationship. You have to come to the point where you get right with you, and that other people's behavior or circumstances do not dictate how peaceful you are, how happy and fulfilled you are, should not be predicated on someone else's behavior. That's a big principle. It's a big principle to tap into your intuition and then act on what you learn. Most of us women either ignore our intuition or we get a message and we're too afraid to act on it. That's a principle of a way that we start to show up.
Women's intuition. That's a valuable thing if you can figure out how to use it.
And when you do take the time to meditate and get to know the deeper part of you better, and when you start to heal some of the childhood wounding, you build a tighter connection with the intuition so that you start to trust her and she starts to trust you, and you don't feel that sort of doubt, because right now that is in conflict with how your life is going or the thoughts that you're thinking. But once we do the work to align the way you're living, the thoughts you're thinking, the deeper, truer part of you, then when she tells you, don't go there, don't do that, or whatever the message is, we have more confidence to listen. At first, if I know for me, I shushed my heart and my intuition 90% of the time. I was in my head, type A, overachieving, driven. Let's do this. We're going to do this. We're going to get that. And I really didn't value the input of my heart and my intuition. And it was only as I got older and got into these practices and went through life challenges that I realized the value of it and how much better I feel inside when I have a good relationship with that part of me, when I let my heart have some say in my decision making. It's really beautiful. No one can do it for you, and you can do it despite what anyone else is doing. It gives you back your power when you can tap into that, start acting on it.
I love that.
Yeah. That's kind of like we talk about as we age, as we get older as women, we have that newfound wisdom, especially as postmenopausal women. And I guess that plays into that whole idea of accepting some of those intuitions that we have, where, like you said, we were too afraid to maybe say that to that person or set that boundary or not take a step towards our like pursuing our passions. We just did an episode about that. Our fear, we put up that wall of fear that we're afraid to do things. And I think as we age, incorporating these principles along with our own wisdom that we've acquired over these years, I kind of think that they synergistically will work together.
Beautiful, yes.
Yeah.
So, as I was reading this book, a lot of these principles are familiar to me. The one thing that I never really heard anyone talk about before, and you say that in your book as well, is the concept of fluidity. And I think it's really important to talk about that for a few minutes because, like we said earlier, a path to spirituality or a path to consciousness, it's not something that you typically can experience overnight. It usually is a journey. It usually takes a significant amount of time. It's not something that usually happens overnight. And so I think fluidity is an important concept if I understand correctly what you're getting at. So could you explain a little bit more about the concept of fluidity?
What I realized as I was starting to heal and I was starting to practice these things and starting to get some results was that presence, for example, different teachers talk about different paths to enlightenment or different practices. And what I realized is sometimes one practice will fit and help me resolve an issue, but it may not help me resolve a different issue. So I can't get stuck on being an Eckhart Tolle devotee and keep trying to get present with this person at work that I'm struggling with this scenario. And I keep having the negative feelings. You can't pretend like you do not. So what I realize is, oh, sometimes I have to bring in different principles from different teachers and then they can build on each other or work synergistically. I can do a little bit of non-attachment. I can do a little bit of, oh, I understand their words aren't really about me, even though I'm taking them personally. And then I can continue with a different practice or principle. So it's really about not getting too attached. Sometimes we will be completely in the dark and something will happen to wake us up. We'll read just the right book, we'll hear just the right podcast, or we'll go to a retreat and we have this person that really sheds light on things. And you're like, oh my goodness, this is the answers I've been looking for. And then you realize that you're counting on that person or that philosophy to sort of get you through every single thing in your life. And we get sort of hung up on not allowing other principles to work as well, if that makes sense. So it's more about being open to the four agreements from Don Miguel Ruiz, for example, or Wayne Dyer's work, or the work of Carolyn Myss. It's about being open to the different ways that different principles and practices can be put together to help you in any certain scenario. I call it like a toolbox, and you can use different tools for different problems instead of being stuck on, I've got this one thing that worked really well in the beginning, and now I'm going to force that to try to get it to fix other issues, and it's not working, but I'm going to force it because I know it can work. Just take a step back, relax, and try some other principle and keep incorporating things until you get the answers that you seek.
But the recognition that you need a tool, that in and of itself is progress. And it's okay that that's where you're at. So
Right.
pat yourself on the back, because some people don't have the capability of seeing, I'm in a moment where I need something to help me out here.
Yeah, any negative experience, negative emotion, especially reoccurring experience or emotion, and you're just tired of it, and you say, I don't want to be that way, I don't want to feel that way, but you don't know how to stop it, and it just keeps happening. Those are perfect scenarios that there's a solution out there waiting for you to discover it. You wouldn't be having it if there wasn't a solution and there wasn't an answer or a growth for you to get out of the scenario.
Yep. Everything is a teachable moment if you allow it to be so. Excellent.
Yes.
So, one of the things we typically do when we interview people to wind things up is we ask this question: what are 3 things you would tell your younger self?
I would tell her, trust what your heart knows, because I didn't, and no one told me to. So I would say, trust what your heart knows. I would say, you're going to get there. And I would say, you are enough.
I don't think you can say more than that. That's perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Thank
Well,
you.
Denise, thank you so much for being here. We both enjoyed your book. Why don't
Thank
you
you.
tell our audience, the lovely ladies out there, how they can reach you, what you'll maybe be up to next?
And where to find you
Yeah, where to
online.
find you.
Yeah.
We'll put
Well,
links in the description for everything, but for purposes of
yeah,
people who are listening.
the book is everywhere books are sold, and I have an audiobook, and I did the reading of the audiobook and an
Excellent.
ebook as well. And then I have zeninhighheels.com. We have some really fun merchandise. I have little like tumblers and little wine tumbler that says Zen vibes and just some fun things. I've got a journal on there that I love. And I'm on Instagram at Zen In High Heels. And I'm working on a TED Talk right now. So
Yeah.
I'll let you know about that.
Yeah, great.
And yeah, just
Good.
Excellent. Well, we will make sure to link everything in the description so folks know where to find you for sure.
thank
Yeah.
you so much for your kind words, and keep up the good work on your podcast.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that. And I do want to take an opportunity to say, please give this episode a like and a share and subscribe to our podcast. If you want to see extended versions, and I don't think we're going to have any bloopers for this podcast episode. It was very zen, but sometimes we do have bloopers, and we put the bloopers in our extended versions, which are on our YouTube channel. And you can find that by searching at Girlish Gurus. And if you have a topic that you would like us to discuss, or if you would like to be a guest on our show, please let us know. We would like to hear from you in the comments. Send us an email at our email address, which is girlishgurus@gmail.com. And yeah, we just thank you all so much for your support. And we'll see you in the next one.
Yeah, until next time.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Girlish Gurus. We hope you'll join us next time for more fun and inspiration. Be sure to check the description of this episode for links and information about the topic, and you can find us on our social media platforms, starting with Instagram, Facebook, and now including YouTube. You can find us by searching Girlish Gurus, and you can also check out our website, girlishgurus.com, for more information on us, our projects, books, and our growing community.
And don't forget to download this episode, give it a good review, and share it with your girlfriends. We would also love to hear from you in the comments, because the more interaction we get, the more episodes we can post. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.